Here. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about not just like pulmonary rehab in itself, but we're going to take a look because I saw there was some post on not necessarily blood, you know, but more on I guess complications with oxygenation, things like that. So, excuse me. Also, we're going to be also talking about the Delta V device. So I'm Alex Crichon. I'm one of the directors of pulmonary rehabilitation. My license is under the Maryland Board of Physicians as a pulmonary care practitioner or respiratory care practitioner. And I oversee and run the program at HRN, which is the Home Rehab Network. Anyways, today we're not just going to be talking about the Delta V, how to increase the strengthening lung muscles out, but also taking a look at blood in itself and look at actual red blood cells up close. Okay, and I have a very nice, very expensive microscope that I'm going to share with you guys. So as we get started, oh, by the way, if you have any questions, just write in the comment section and I'll try to answer them as quickly as I can. Okay, again, I'm Alex Gertruin, and here we go. Really quick, I'm going to change my video so you're going to see blood up close. All right, but you're going to still be able to hear me. So let's see here. This out to this. Let me enlarge this out so you can be able to see this a little better. Okay, so right now what you're looking at are red blood cells, and this is live. So these are my red blood cells. I'm going to go ahead and just enlarge just a little bit, try to get a little more clarity here. Okay, let me actually zoom out a little bit by using a different layout here, different microscope head. So you can see it a little differently here. Okay, so right here, as you can see, there are red blood cells. These are looks like little caps. Okay, and I can move this, moving it back and forth, so you can look at other forms and everything. But anyways, a lot of people they ask me where's the oxygen attached to them? Well, it's hard to see the oxygen attached to them, but how does the oxygen know, or the red blood cell know, to release the oxygen into a tissue? So there is no brain on a red blood cell. These are just transport vehicles. That's all this is. Red blood cells are transport vehicles. And the reason why it's moving is just because of the heat that's created by the light inside the microscope. So as you can see on here, there is no brain on a red blood cell. So how does it determine, like when it reaches a tissue, to release the oxygen from the red blood cells, from the hemoglobin, into the tissues itself? When does it know to do that? Well, it doesn't know because it doesn't think. So these are red blood cells. We're just taking a look at a few of them. You can see they look like little platelets. You know, like little, they look like little dishes, almost like look like a donut in a sense. But inside the red blood cells, you have hemoglobin sites that actually bind onto the red blood cell. I mean, that bind to the oxygen binds to the hemoglobin. Sorry. Inside the red blood cells, you have plasma. That's just the regular plasma. So the spaces in between the red blood cells is actual, kind of like water in a sense, but it's just plasma fluid in itself. There is no brain on a red blood cell. So this is called the dissociation curve, is when temperature increases or decreases, that's when the oxygen releases from the red blood cell to a tissue. So I'm going to switch the camera back over to me, over to myself here. Oops, sorry, one second here. Let me reduce this down over here really quick. Okay. 1 second. I'm not so used to this program here. Let me reduce this down a little bit. Sorry. Okay. So on a red blood cell, when it's based off of blood pressure and temperature. When the temperatures are very, very low, so when a temperature is very, very low, the oxygen releases too quickly. When the temperature is very high, like let's say you have a high temperature, the oxygen actually binds onto the red blood cells very, very tight. Because you have to understand, if oxygen comes into your lungs, why doesn't it just release the oxygen right then and there? Why does it wait until it reaches the tissue to release? That's because the tissue needs, or the blood turns or gets into a different type of temperature, and that's actually what releases the oxygen from the red blood cell itself. It releases and goes into the tissue itself. Anyways, if anybody has any questions on that, I'm going to reduce this down so it's easier to see me a little better here. Reduce that down just a little bit more. There we go, so it's a little easier to see me. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about respiratory muscle training. With respiratory muscle training, we have to look at the muscles responsible for breathing. If your goal is to increase respiratory muscles because you want to try to get more air inside your lungs, more CO2 to come out, then respiratory muscle training is going to be the best bet for that, of course. And the types of respiratory muscle trainers that I prefer using for a pulmonary rehab program is the Delta V. The Delta V is a respiratory muscle trainer. There were others, a lot of them out there, but they didn't have a flow meter attached to them, so I wasn't sure if somebody was breathing in fast enough or it was too slow. So a Delta V replaces that complication. So then the person using the respiratory muscle trainer or even the clinician can see if the speed of how fast they breathe in and out is good. Okay, and that is very extremely important. So you take an incentive spirometer, attach the Delta V. If there's a mouthpiece already on the incentive spirometer hose, just take the mouthpiece off and replace it with the Delta V, just like so. Okay. So on the Delta V, as you can see that there's these arrows, and the numbers are right there. I actually just darkened it up a little bit so it's easier to see on video. But anyways, if I'm going to measure, if I'm going to measure my lung volumes, I keep the Delta V at a 0, and then I correctly measure. So I'm going to exhale all the way out first by breathing out all the way. Then I'm going to inhale. Pulling my chest up to its highest point. Then I'm going to exhale again. I'm going to do this 3 times and kind of average my volumes out. Now, if my volume isn't very high, then I'm going to have to do respiratory muscle training. So, remember, incentive spirometers by themselves don't exercise you. This is a common misconception. There's no weight, there's no resistance when you breathe in through an incentive spirometer itself. It's different when you attach a Delta V to it because you're turning into a resistance training device. All right, but when you measure, okay, you have to exhale all of the air out of your lungs first, and then you inhale to correctly measure how much air is actually going into your lungs. Second, let's say I'm going to increase the resistance by taking the dial on my Delta V, increasing the resistance to a higher number, and the arrow points at the number, okay? And if it's slanted, this piece right here is, my hand's a little dirty from the board. Anyways, I move it with the big block, not by this, or else I will change the setting. I move this, and why would I want to move that? It's just in case I put a setting and now it's slanted at an angle, and I'll have to move my head this way. Okay, so you just turn it with the big block to align it with your mouth, okay? And then now you're turning into a respiratory muscle trainer. So I'm going to exhale all the way out. Make sure you're exhaling all the way out. No shallow breathing here. So I'm going to breathe all the way out. Then inhale. Always keep track of the flow meter. In this flow meter, you'll always want to make sure this is between the arrows. That's making sure that the speed is always correct. So you're not second guessing yourself. You always know you're doing it right. So when you breathe in, this is a pretty good setting. I'm at a 3 right now. Okay, so I'm going to inhale. It's going to give me some resistance. Inhale. Exhale. Notice I didn't get as high as I did before. The reason behind that is because there's a lot of resistance. Just like a regular weight. If you have a regular weight, and let's say here's a regular weight. Let's say you have a regular weight and you're trying to lift this regular weight. Okay, and let's say the weight was very, very heavy. And you try to lift it, you're not going to lift it like super fast. You're going to lift it like, oh. Okay, if it's very heavy. Same thing with breathing. The muscles responsible for breathing might be just a little bit too weak. So if you didn't get very high on your volume with a high setting, it just means the weight's very high. And that's a good thing because you want to have some resistance. Remember, if you go into a gym and don't pick up one single weight, you have no weight and you're trying to work out, you're not going to build muscle. You're not going to build these muscles up, right? Okay, that's the same thing with breathing. If you just breathe in right now, you're not building muscle. Okay, you're not building muscle because there's no added weight. You want to have a weight added, just like a bicep. You want to add a weight so you can increase muscle strengthening or increase muscle. And respiratory muscle training is done 6 times a day, 10 minutes each. I was thinking what might be a good idea. If anybody wanted to try out the pulmonary rehab program that we do at HRN, remember, HRN holds the highest. It's the highest success rates. It's 98%. So anybody who jumps in to a pulmonary rehab program with HRN usually has the highest outcomes possible. Okay, and if there is a chance of getting you better with your breathing, cardiac, we're a very good shot at that. So it will be the best shot you got. All right. Never, ever, ever wait till the last minute, of course, when you want to try to go into a rehab program. But if you want to just try it out, there's nothing wrong with jumping in to these programs sometimes. You just have to schedule something with Abby Cohen. She's our patient coordination officer, and of course our manager at office manager. So Abby Cohen, you just have to call this number here. And remember, it doesn't matter what state you're in. This is a virtual program, so you do it through Zoom. But it's 410-871-4601. Okay, you just call. She'll just ask, "Are you just trying to try it out?" It's like, yeah, just say you want to try it out. You don't have to try to sign up or anything. You just want to try it out first before anything. But this is an actual program. Just understand that this is an actual legitimate program, pulmonary rehab program that's done through insurances and stuff like that. So it's a legitimate program and take it very, very seriously. Okay. But with respiratory muscle training, I was thinking might be a pretty good idea. Let's see what you guys think of actually doing some respiratory muscle training exercises. The only thing I would need is I wouldn't necessarily need any information about you. I think the only thing I would need is a respiratory muscle trainer. So if you got a respiratory muscle trainer, I would prefer the Delta Vs than anything, because at least I can see if you're breathing in fast enough and coach you throughout it. All right, so a Delta V, remember, you just go to, this is the website if you want to get one. They're not expensive, all right? They're not expensive, but it's www. That's it. www.deltav.rehab. Okay. You just type that in, go into the Delta V website. You'll see me on there. I work with the Delta Vs with my patients all the time. And that's how I'm able to get a lot of people, out to a very good level with their lung health and getting them to walk further, doing a lot more behind that. And remember, there's always a million reasons not to do something, but if you actually want to try and get, strengthen up your lung muscles, then jump in. Just jump in and this can be done on Facebook or done on YouTube or things like that. Oh, and if you're on YouTube, following us on YouTube, please subscribe. And I'll just be doing some more of these videos. If it's helpful, I'll just keep doing them. Okay. And I am taking time out for my day to do this. But mind you, I do have a lot of patients I have to see every day. So hope you guys understand. Anyways,